Alrighty, what's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. And today we are going to be watching an episode of Charlie Kirk and his best moments. So check this out. Let's get to it.
Excited to see both of you. I'm a little stressed because I feel like I could ask about, gun violence. I could ask about anti-Semitism on campus, but I feel like with opportunity like this, I would really appreciate some personal advice. I'm here at the University of Pittsburgh as a social work major, and I'm really passionate about it. However, I have found that I'm leaning a little bit more Republican, and I feel like I come at a standstill with that. And I really just want to get your advice moving forward for myself. There's some obvious things I think you can think that would conflict. Obviously, I guess that's kind of my question. What advice do you have for me as a Republican aspiring social worker?
What would conflict?
I don't know how to say it properly.
I think I can help. The social work industry is very much about a perspective generally of that people in poverty are there permanently and not trying to break people out of poverty into the middle class or higher levels.
Right.
And that's why the Democrat Party and social work are very intertwined.
Right, exactly.
They view poverty not as a series of choices, but as a station in life that is immovable largely.
Right.
Is that fair to say?
That is fair to say. That's why my personal focus is on the children in underprivileged communities, because I personally feel like they don't choose to be put in that position. But I'm having a little bit of a difficult time empathizing with the older generation of underprivileged, and not in every community, but I don't know how to not sound bad. I know you are great at not sounding bad when you say stuff, but I don't want to say something that'll get me in trouble.
Well, here's one way to look at it. And Charlie, that was helpful, actually. The Great Society from Lyndon Johnson. It was a series of policies that were designed to help underprivileged communities.
Right.
They hurt the very people they were supposed to help.
How?
Well, the reality is it created dependence on government. So you have a lot of single mothers, for example, that are paid more money not to have a man in the house than to have a man in the house because of the way the math of these aid programs
What
work.
do you mean?
Well, often the way the math of the aid is calculated is if you have an earning husband in the household, that actually causes you to disqualify for forms of federal aid that were designed to help you.
Right.
But actually, the best way to get kids in your own household ahead is in a two-parent household, because if you're raised in a two-parent household, you're less likely to end up in jail, less likely to end up in poverty, more likely to graduate from high school. So one of the ways that, if you're asking for advice, I would say for the people around you, even who might lean left, you can recognize their intentions come from a good place.
Absolutely.
But the policies of their leaders have actually betrayed the very people they were supposed to help. And you can let them know, because I believe this is genuinely true. Not just the Republican Party, but our conservative movement. We care about lifting people up from poverty. We just care about actually doing it rather than talking about it.
And
That's what I would say.
The other thing I'll say is that we as conservatives believe that if you're in poverty, it's largely because of values, not because of lack of stuff.
Like what values?
Not saving money, spending all of your money in your paycheck as you get it, for example. abandoning your spouse after impregnating you, not spending all of your money on alcohol and drugs. At the Bottom, you should read it, by Theodore Dalrymple, who's a social worker in the United Kingdom. It's called Life at the Bottom, where he got into social work because he wanted to help people, and he realized it was not a lack of stuff. It wasn't lack of housing, lack of food stamps. It was that their value system was one that kept them poor. So yeah, really quick, then I want to get to the next question.
I'm just struggling because in all of my social work classes right now, they're talking about all of those things. And
they're wrong.
So what do I do? I'm trying to learn about what I want to do.
I think you need to stay in social work because you're called to do it. But there's an amazing amount of literature from Thomas Sowell to Shelby Steele to Theodore Dalrymple that get down to actual root causes of poverty, which is not lack of stuff, but is worldview. And I think that'd be super helpful.
Thank you so much.
God bless you.
Trump 2024.
Yes, that you want a hat? Yes, great. Thank you. According to the way that the asylum laws are written, the entire nation of Mexico applies under asylum. Do you think that you have a right to immigrate to America? Is diversity and inclusion really an American ideal? Are you okay with deporting every illegal person that's here? Do you think that the American government should first have an obligation to citizens before foreigners? Nobody is asking these questions. We're just saying, if you want to come in, you can come in. Do you see anything wrong with, I don't know, taking in 5% of the population of Haiti? If someone comes into your dorm room uninvited and they do the dishes and laundry, they can stay?
If I'm not going to do my own dishes, heck yeah. Hi. All right.
Hello.
Oh, hi. I'm going to start off by saying I'm a political science student. I'm a second year here at K-State. And I'm a first generation student.
Try to turn it up a
little bit.
Yeah, perfect. Great. Thank you. And what's your name again?
Alondra.
Nice.
Alvarez. Yeah. So I just had a question because you talk a lot about like protecting and securing our southern borders. But as the granddaughter of immigrants, I think that we get into a lot of complicated disputes with the idea that immigrants are criminals, are drug dealers, and things like that. So I just want to hear what your opinion is on those expectations or those, what do you call it? Those stereotypes that are put on Hispanic communities, Latino communities, and how they change the way people perceive immigration.
Sure. So, thank you for the question. So you said you're the first generation student or first generation American?
I'm a first generation student.
Cool, great. Second generation American? Did I hear that right?
Third generation American on my mom's side.
Great.
Second on my dad's.
When your grandparents then, is that right?
Yes.
Came to this country, did they do so through the legal process that was in front of them?
So my father got married to my mother. So he's a legal resident of the United States. She's been here her entire life.
But did she enter legally?
She did. She's born here. Yeah.
Got it.
My grandpa on my dad's side entered in illegally.
Okay. So I'm not here to like insult your grandpa, right? But but we must be very clear that the type of immigration that we support is when you follow our rules and you come on our terms, and that you do not break into a country uninvited and you try to cut.
Can I add something to that? The reason why he left, and a lot of people in Mexico do, is because of the political state, especially in the 70s and 80s, when they decided to move. They have a government that isn't supportive of their constituents, and because of drug problems, their only choice was to move.
Yeah, I totally sympathize. That's not true. It's never the only choice to commit a crime, and we should not put up with it. And so it is an insult to other immigrants from Vietnam and Laos and Pakistan that have to wait decades in line to morally equivalate people that come in and just break in. Oh, I have an unstable country. Like half of the world's countries are unstable.
Yeah, but that's why we have the asylum seekers program,
which is heavily abused. And we're talking two different things. Asylum seekers and walking into the country illegally are similar but different things, right? And so so we have millions of gotaways of people that we have no idea who they are. They're not declaring asylum. They just run across the border.
Well, because they can't. The system doesn't allow other people from Mexico specifically to assign themselves
to who they are the last couple of years. So look, we just have to be very clear with this, is that if you come into the country uninvited, you have committed a crime and you are a criminal. And we could decide that we're not going to enforce our laws, or we can say that when you are a criminal, you should then be punished for that crime, aka sent back to your country of origin, because you were not invited. And it is an insult, again, to the Poles and to the Czechoslovakians and from the Senegalese and people all across the world that don't have the proximity or the luxury just to waltz into America.
You call it a luxury to leave a country that has political tyranny and come into a country with opportunity?
Yes, to live in Mexico, to be able to go 100 miles north and break into America. Do you know how many people in Pakistan would kill to be on that border?
That's why we bring them in.
Well, we shouldn't, right? That's the point. And secondly, do you think that you have a right to immigrate to America?
I think that I didn't have a choice. My grandparents made that decision for me.
And I'm not trying to attack your grandparents, but no one has a right to go to anybody else's country. You are invited. It is a privilege, not a right, to come into America.
So it's a privilege to live a life that requires you to have clean water, clean food, clean air.
Yes, of course it is.
And you have to fight for that?
Yes, it is not.
But we didn't?
Hold on a sec. Well,
born here, we didn't fight for that?
Well, my ancestors did fight for that, actually, and I'm a very thankful recipient of many generations of Americans that fought for the greatest nation ever to exist.
By doing what? Coming here?
Well,
illegally?
Wait, what did my ancestors do?
They came here illegally.
They came over here in 1620, fought in the Revolutionary War, fought in the Civil War, fought in World War I.
So because my grandpa didn't come here in 1620, it gives him no right to have a good life?
He can fill out paperwork and wait in line like the rest of the world. And then we can see whether or not it's in our best interest to allow him to come in. And so we have to weigh costs and benefits. I'm not saying we should have no immigrants, but immigration must be a net benefit for the American homeland and for the American citizen. We have brought in 10 million people in these last couple of years. We have now brought in 5% of the population of Haiti. Nobody is asking these questions. We're just saying, if you want to come in, you can come in. Do you see anything wrong with, I don't know, taking in 5% of the population of Haiti?
Not necessarily, no. If we have the land and the resources to house them, it shouldn't be that big deal to bring in immigrants.
Really? So do you think that the American government should first have an obligation to citizens before foreigners?
Okay, I think we have an
answer
obligation.
The question. Yeah.
Here's the thing. Yeah, we're obligated because we're citizens to have the rights that we have, but that doesn't mean we can't open up our borders and we have the process.
Hold on a second.
To do so.
You, being a younger American, and everyone in the audience, is the first generation in American history to have it be worse off than your parents. So the social, and you agree with that, social contract, poor, more expensive. Yeah. So wouldn't it be rational for the American government to say, we're going to prioritize younger generation Americans that are American passport holders and citizens before those in another nation?
I don't want to say anything that offends people, but
You know,
I've
go
already
ahead.
said it, right? I've already said
Yeah.
it. Whatever. I think that the way we're going about it is wrong. And that if we don't have a clear path to citizenship, we won't open up those opportunities for people to come and seek a good life. But I also think
But
that,
it's
yeah,
not-
we
it's-
are
it's
required
not-
to have those rights ourselves.
Seeking a
as
good
American
life
citizens.
is fine. It's a nice added benefit. Our government does not exist to improve the life of foreign citizens.
But we should be open to the idea of accepting
of
that.
course we are, if we have our own
Yep.
house in order. We are in chaos right now. We have the most depressed, suicidal, anxious generation history. Our birth rate is collapsing. Kids can't afford homes.
Yeah.
You guys are drowning in debt. You have to compete you have to compete for jobs against foreigners. Our country is a mess right now. And so when your country's a mess and your home is in disarray and bedlam, your own government should say, time out. I have a heart for the people of Haiti. I have a heart for the people of every country, but you're not coming here until this generation at least has it as good as their parents.
But it's the stereotype that I'm given as a Mexican American to fulfill those standards that people have on immigration as well.
I don't share that. I haven't said that here today. There's people from all over the world that enter the southern border now. There's 118 countries that come across the southern border. But I don't care if you enter illegally from Bulgaria or from Laos or from Mexico or from Nicaragua. Someone who does not have their paperwork when they come in is by definition breaking federal law.
Yeah,
and so then what should we do with someone who breaks with federal law?
But does that mean that people, including their children, their grandchildren, including myself, have to live with the stereotype or the standard set upon me that I am a criminal, I am a drug dealer, I am a XYZ?
Okay, so I played into that stereotype.
I've heard it many, many times, not from you specifically today.
Okay, but then it's a little bit of a red herring, right? Because we're not even talking about it. I'm not.
Well, my original question was, what do you think about it?
What do I think about stereotypes?
About the stereotype given to immigrants right now and children of immigrants and people of color here.
Well, I can't talk about something I don't believe in. So, I mean, I don't want people to be stereotyped. No different than when you look at a young white man on campus, you think he's a rapist, right? Which is.
No, I don't.
Well, that's good. No, but that is a stereotype that is pushed sometimes. Like, oh, if you see a young man on campus, it's campus rape culture. Stereotyping is wrong. It should not occur. But we also must understand that the way that we constitute our immigration policy right now in this country is not in the benefit of the American citizen. And we're acting much more like a colony than a country. And where a country is where you have ties that bind you together. You have a shared history, hopefully a shared language. You have a shared culture, where a colonies, you come from anywhere across the world, and so be it.
Yeah, but isn't that like the point of America? Diversity and inclusion and belonging.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Where is that in the Constitution or the Declaration that diversity and inclusion, these are false ideals that are taught in school? They're, I guess, nice, but is diversity and inclusion really an American ideal?
I think so.
Where does it say that?
I think that everyone has the right to live out their own individuality, their own lives, and their own way.
I know, but you say the American ideal. Where do you get that from? Yeah, pursuit of happiness for Americans. You're right, because that's what the Declaration
I'm an
was
American.
written for. No, that's fine.
Does that mean I'm not valid here for having a diverse background?
No, of course you are, but I'm saying that what.
So can I not express that?
No, don't change the topic. You said we should be able to open up the country for people from all across the world.
Yeah.
Why do we believe that is a core belief?
Because we want to help people. That's the point. We came here a long time ago. We established a country a long time ago.
For those seeking more of what moves them, that's Mazda. Roger BC Mazda is proud to be your
long time ago, and we want to have other people come in, I think, to live in the luxury that we live in now.
Last question.
I knew
Are you okay with deporting every illegal person that's here?
No.
Why?
Because there's some people here that are not represented well by the media. There's a lot of illegal immigrants here that are working their butts off for the life that they want.
I don't care if they're working hard. But the point is, what should the punishment be for breaking into a country?
Depends on the crime you commit after you break into it.
Okay. That's it. I'm talking about just the crime is breaking in. What should the punishment be? I break into somebody's home. What should their punishment be?
Can you repeat that?
Oh, so if you behave after you get here, that's fine. So to play that out, if someone comes into your dorm room uninvited and they do the dishes and laundry, they can stay?
If I'm not going to do my own dishes, heck yeah. They're doing my dishes for me. Cool. If they don't kill me, I'm not dead. It is what it is, man.
Well, they are killing a lot of Americans, but
you say they, like they are.
Yes,
like
they.
All illegal immigrants kill people. That's crazy.
Many illegals do. Actually, the crime rate for illegals is far above that of native-born Americans. And even if it wasn't, it would not be there. No, but it's just interesting. The punishment for the crime of breaking into a nation should be what it is in Switzerland and Israel and Hungary. Every person who breaks into a nation uninvited goes back to their country of origin, period.
So why is there emphasis on the southern border?
Because most people come illegally through the southern border. 10 million people have come across the southern border. And by the way, do you have any concern for the 320,000 missing kids that have also been sex trafficked across the southern border?
Of course I do.
But who's doing the sex trafficking?
A handful of people, not everybody else.
320,000, that's a lot.
The children.
Yeah. But each one of them has a handler. So, and that means that there 320,000 sex pimps are bringing in sex slaves to this country.
The point I'm trying to make is that we categorize all illegal immigrants under the same thing: sex traffickers, drug dealers.
Am I doing that?
And by you saying all illegal immigrants have to be deported, you're implying that all of them are doing these terrible things, and not a small percentage of them.
Well, it's not small, actually. 320,000 out of 10 million is not small, actually. That's a serious number. That's 3.2% of all people that came into the country are connected to sex slavery in some way. That's insane, actually. 3.2% are connected to sex slavery. That's like a lot. But anyway, so let's just kind of, I want to just make clear, if you come into a country uninvited, definitionally you are a criminal.
We're just not going to agree.
It's fine. Then final question: what is a criminal?
What is a criminal?
No. What is it? Would you agree with the definition that a criminal is someone who breaks the law?
Here's where I'm thinking. Here's the thing. I know how he's going to turn it, and I don't fully agree.
It's not a matter of turning it. It's a very ABC sequence. If they're not criminals, then tell me what a criminal is. And a criminal is obviously someone who breaks the law. Someone who comes across the southern border broke federal law. Therefore, they are a criminal.
Okay, then we can just disagree.
But you have to tell me what a criminal is, though.
Trump.
Oh, Trump. Yeah.
Yo.
You got to come up to the mic. Okay.
She's right behind me.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Can't tell me what a criminal is. Yeah. It's so sad. It's because if you want to really get down to it at the core, and she's a very sweet person who was there, the left cannot define core terms. Criminal, woman, racist, democracy.
Do you feel proud of yourself for debating college kids who are unprepared to speak in front of an audience like yourself? Hold on. You're 30 years old. We can agree you're 30 years old, right? Do you think that's a little bit silly?
Are you a voter?
I am a voter. I'm
Oh,
a
so
registered
I
voter.
vote and you vote. So I'm talking to voters of this country that will determine the future of Western civilization. That's what I'm doing here today. Yeah? Wait, hold on. How is it any different than a professor talking to you?
Then a professor talking to you? Who are you?
Well, important enough for you to come up to a microphone.
Actually, when I first saw this ad, I thought it was like an improv comedy thing. It looked so ridiculous that I didn't even think it was real.
Well, no, you could see. Look how popular Trump is on your campus. How does that make you feel? That's not comedy. That is a 5-alarm fire for Kamala Harris because she's probably going to lose Pennsylvania.
Look,
But no, I just want to be clear. Is there something wrong with talking to voters?
no, there's nothing wrong with talking.
Well, that's
to
what we're doing here
voters.
today. It's an open
I
mic,
think that you push a dangerous agenda.
such as.
Your stance on abortion rights, for example.
Here we go. Okay, so
So let me ask a question. What is your name?
Jean,
Gene, and what is your understanding of the current Republican Party's stance on federal intervention in abortion?
well, I know that they want to bring it back to the states, right?
So it sounds like you do know that the Republican Party's current stance on abortion is they're against a federal ban on abortion.
I do
And we're
understand
talking about
that,
a
yes.
presidential election as the
Yes.
important election that we're talking about here.
I understand that, yes.
Right. So again, I think this open dialogue is great. I think it's great you're here challenging Charlie, and I think it's great that he's willing to travel campuses across this country to talk to the next generation. We need more conversation. Now, where's the disagreement though on content? Because you could criticize style or why you're talking to people
Listen,
or dunk on someone personally, but where do you actually disagree with
I
the
agree
substance?
with the way that you edit content and specifically frame it so that people look bad talking to you. The way that you edit your content.
we post unedited content.
Let me just ask you one thing though, because you can personal insults can fly in all directions. Where is an area where you have a disagreement with the conservative movement, with Donald Trump, with Charlie Kirk, perhaps with myself? I was a presidential candidate last.
Now you can clearly see this one right here can't even come up with a substantiated argument on what she just said at all. And she looked very stupid. Very stupid.
Last year. I think we need to talk about that more in the open. And the more we do, the stronger our country is going to be. We got a long line of people, but I want to hear from you one substantive area where you have an authentic disagreement, and I'd be glad to address it. I'm sure Charlie would too.
Just in any
Anything.
political.
Relating to any political topic where you have a disagreement. Let's air it.
Okay. I disagree with some of the laws that are being pushed in Congress that are against the LGBTQ community and the trans community.
Okay, so let's talk about that. I'm going to give you my view, and then I want to hear yours.
Okay.
My view is that if you're a fully grown adult, 18 or above, you're free to live how you want, dress how you want, marry who you want if you want, if you're
Okay.
over the age of 18.
I agree.
But you are not free to indoctrinate children in schools who are not yet of the age of consent. You are not free, just as you're a 17-year-old or a 15-year-old can't get a tattoo on their own. I don't think that you should be able to go or until the age of 18. And so the lines that I draw here is that men are free to claim to be women and swim in swimming pools. You're not free to claim trophies in a women's sports competition. You're not free to enter a women's locker room. You're not free to change a language, and you're not free to actually indoctrinate our children who are under the age of 5 in schools. do we agree on the fact that adults should be able to live freely while still treating children differently? If so, we're on the same side of this issue.
Listen, I agree with the majority of what you said. However, I don't think that you're understanding the implications of the laws that are trying to be passed.
Look, we got a head start in the conversation. We got a long line behind you, but my only ask is forget the personal attacks or the stylistic attacks. Focus on substance. The more we debate that, the stronger we're going to be as a country. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I don't think you're focusing on substance, though. That's the issue.
Hold on. Look, he intentionally tried to provoke substance out of you, and you said, well, I'm worried about some laws Congress should pass. I have to ask, what laws are you talking about? Can you be specific?
I'm sorry, I'm very nervous, but this is what you do. This is what you do. You take people and you put them under the spotlight, and you.
Well, hold on. I didn't ask you to come up here. You voluntarily came to the front of the line. You didn't have to do that.
You're purposely antagonizing people on campus, asking
How?
people to come up by spreading your weird agenda.
How? What agenda is? I'm confused though.
So Charlie, I'll say this. We'll end on this and we'll go to the next question. When I was 18, I'm not going to blame you for this. I also took for granted a lot of the stuff that the media force-fed me, because that's what you know at the age of 18. You say there are some vague laws making their way through Congress that are hostile to trans community.
Do you know how?
I don't think those
do you
laws
know
actually
about?
exist, but I don't blame you if
Listen to
that's
me.
what the cable media is feeding you. But let's get to the specifics, and then we're able to actually have an open dialogue. That's one of the things I've learned over the last 20 years.
I think that the issue
part
is
of-
we're getting our media
learning
from
our
different
country.
sources. Both people are getting media from these skewed sources. The facts that you're presenting are not always correct.
And that's why we're here with no TV screens between us. So people who have policy-based substantive disagreements, we invite those. I think that's how we're going to get our country back. And as it relates to trans, which you brought up, 18 or above, you're free to live how you want. You're not free to force that onto somebody else, or especially kids. And if we agree on
Thank
that,
you
we
very
make some
much.
progress.
Thank you. Disagreements, yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay. So I tend to lean liberal on a lot of issues, but specifically on immigration. When I hear about like the Haitians in Ohio, closer, yeah, taking over cities, and the thing about eating people's pets, I don't know if that's true.
It is true.
But I was wondering if you could speak a little bit on that specifically, and I'm kind of torn on the election. So if you could also speak on if we have more instances like that in the future, if Kamala Harris gets voted.
Yeah, it's great. First of all, thank you for coming up to the mic. And I want to try to win you over as a liberal for Donald Trump. So you're going to give me a chance, okay?
I will, sir.
All right, okay. That is a true open mind. So I appreciate that. Number one, we have accepted 5% of the Haitian population in this country in the last couple of years. I have nothing against Haitians. I know some Haitians. We can all agree when you accept 5% of any country's population, in addition to all the other mass migration we have, it's too much, it's unsustainable, and a government must start from this core premise. It must have an obligation to fulfill a better life for its own citizens before it opens its border to non-citizens. It's a very, very basic, fundamental thing. And as I said earlier, everybody in this audience is seeing their future worse off than their parents for the first time since George Washington. That's a big deal. Usually, at least kids are as good, if not better, than their parents, and we have that broken. As far as Donald Trump goes, there are three things I want you to think about when voting for Trump. Number one, home ownership. I imagine you want to own a home sometime in your life, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. In order to own a home, you would have to make $125,000 a year right now just to be able to get the mortgage. That doesn't count your medical expenses, your student debt expenses, your credit card expenses. When Trump was president, it was $75,000 a year. We were building millions of new homes. Incomes were going up. Why is it that the housing prices have gone up so much? Because Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have spent $6 to $7 trillion of unnecessary federal spending, flooded the zone with these trillions of dollars, which have inflated asset prices. Number two, as a liberal, I imagine you don't like war, right? You don't like endless war. Under Donald Trump, it was the first president in 40 years where we had no new wars. No Iraq war, no Syrian war, no Russian-Ukraine war. Under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, we have the Russian-Ukrainian war that we've spent $250 billion on. We have the terrible situation in Israel and Gaza. I'm very pro-Israel. We can all agree, though, not a good situation there, right? Not favorable. It's just bad. A lot of human suffering, not good to witness. Under Donald Trump, none of that happened. In fact, he brought peace to the Middle East. We had the Abraham Accords, and we had a stable international circumstance. The final thing is the border. Under Donald Trump, the southern border was the most secure it was in American history, with border crossings at an all-time low. Under Kamala Harris, 10 million people have come across the southern border into this country. We have no idea who they are. They're coming into our communities. Crime is increasing. They're eating ducks and geese and cats in Springfield, Ohio. And that's just like a silly example. It's totally true, by the way.
Why?
Yeah, go ahead.
Why? When I looked it up, because the reason I'm asking you is because there's a lot of misinformation. I feel like because when I first heard about your side of the story is what I heard, and then after that, I was hearing that there's no proof of that. So why is that?
Well, there is proof. I mean, we have tons of video I could show you, residents saying that my cat was taken by a Haitian yesterday morning and was grilled on an open fire. They won't accept it as a police report in Spring. I know way too much about Springfield, Ohio police reports right now, but they won't accept it as a police report because it's an animal control problem. It's just, again, you have to just look at the residents. Either they're all lying and they're all in on it, or there's something to this. I'm not asking you to vote for Trump based on, cats being kidnapped and grilled and barbecued. I am saying, though, that it begs a question of, can we sustain 10 million people? I want you guys to understand how many 10 million people is. We have 10 million illegals that have come to the country, which is the population of New Jersey. Okay, that is an unsustainable amount. Under Donald Trump, we had the border secure and it will stay secure. So those three things. We had a great economy under Trump, and it was easier for you guys to own homes. We had no wars, and you guys are closer to World War III than ever before. You guys that are all, by the way, military age, I hope you don't get into World War III, because you might be drafted under the current circumstance, and you guys might laugh. But think about who is endorsing Kamala Harris. Dick Cheney, Leon Panetta, Liz Cheney. These are the warmongers of 20 years ago that got us into these wars. So I am not fear-mongering here, guys. The people that got us into these failed wars, by the way, this is 9/11 today, and we remember what happened on 9/11, and then we remember our terrible reaction on 9/11 when we decided to invade Iraq and Afghanistan. Let us never do that again. Let us never invade sovereign countries.
Amen.
And I think you would sympathize with that. And this is why we're seeing Bobby Kennedy, Elon Musk, Tulsi Gabbard, people that are card-carrying Democrats, vote for Trump and voice support for Trump, because what's happening at the Democrat Party is this very sinister combination. It's a party of censorship, it's a party of war, a party of open borders that is against actual traditional liberal values.
I agree.
So which way are you leaning?
Can I get a hat?
That's a good answer. Thanks, man. God bless. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Charlie.
You are I will. 1 sec. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I just have a question kind of based on affirmative action. I'm a computer engineer here at UW-Madison. I'm about to graduate. And there's a lot that I've found through research and just general, I guess, my studies. Not only does affirmative action help, minorities, people of color, but also women in general. And there's a lot of facets of engineering, the medical system, and other factors that, because of affirmative action, have helped. I'll just go into something. For example, let's say in the medical field, endometriosis, something like that has not been studied. Being in the medical field. Also, for example, cars, the seatbelt is made especially for the male body. They're only tested with male mannequins. So a lot of women are in risk of dying in car crashes at a higher rate. There's a lot of things that benefit from a diverse a group of people, both in engineering and medical fields and education and the systems. And I was just wondering, without affirmative action, how do you think we can bring these people in to bring a variety of opinions?
Yeah, no, I
and
mean,
views?
just have a meritocracy, right? So you have 3 white men around you. You can see 1, 2, 3. So if one
have a lot
supports
around me.
affirmative, no, it's okay. If one supports affirmative action,
Right.
it would mean that you would be okay turning to those 3 men and saying, I deserve the position more than you based on something that doesn't matter more
Not
than something that does
necessarily.
matter.
I feel like that's one facet of it that we're not also paying attention to, is that people that are graduating from the same schools. They're graduating with the same degrees.
With lower test scores, though, much lower. Every study of affirmative action, for example, the Harvard case showed that it was nearly 40% lower test scores for people of color versus their white male counterparts and Asian
Okay.
counterparts.
And so, how
at
can
some point,
is that like why would that happen? Do you think
why?
it's yeah?
Why?
What
would
causes that? Do you think it's just because like
Well,
people of color are more like stupid?
No,
or
of
like,
course not. I
Right.
mean, people of color come from lower socioeconomic backgrounds that
Exactly.
don't prioritize education as
So
much.
how do we
but
fix
that's
those socioeconomic statuses?
Right, that's an interesting point. Not should we try to penalize white males that are competent to go run our systems and our institutions. So
Right.
those are 2 different things.
Right.
So what we're doing is our institutions are now becoming less excellent. Our country is not working like it used to because we basically told people that are very qualified and very competent that, sorry, we're not going to put a position for you here. For example, the U.S. Secret Service. Let me just give you one example,
Mhm.
okay? We can all agree that protecting a president, whether it's Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, is super important, right?
Right.
But now the Secret Service has said that we want to have 30% of all our agents be women, which, by the way, they have lower fitness criteria.
Mhm.
So they have less pull-ups, less push-ups, slower mile time.
Oh yeah, that's something that's due to like your
Hold on.
like genetics.
Exactly. Yeah, no,
Right.
but this is affirmative action, right? And so therefore, when
Well, there's like fields like I don't think that's a
But
good.
let
Wait,
me-
one second. I just don't think that's a good example because like women will never be as strong as men, at least
got it. So
genetically.
that's an interesting
So I think
question.
it should be something that's
will women
more like
will women be as
ideologically based.
will
like,
women be as good at engineering as men, person for person?
Not necessarily, but
Okay, well then, how is that different than the Secret Service example?
well, the problem is that
Because
for
the male mind is wired different than the female mind. By the way, men will never be as good. Hold on, I'll prove it to you. Men will never be as good at counseling or psychology sessions as women. Men will never be good at nursing or elementary school education as women. We have certain giftings as our brain is wired a certain way. Women are
Mhm.
far better gifted at micro topics, so individual connection, empathetic type conversations, healing people that are past trauma and wound. Men are much better at macro topics, right? Trying to build a building, put a skyscraper up, trying to talk geopolitics. And I'll prove it to you. When you go and you see 5 women eating lunch, they're probably talking about micro topics, conversations they had, relationships, friendships. Men, they're talking about politics, sports, or the stock market.
that's not necessarily
Oh,
true.
yes. You guys all agree, right?
I mean, there's a reason.
No,
I'm
no, these
here,
these are bimodal general truths, right? Of course there's exceptions, but
it's not
if you,
a general truth, though. I feel like women have the capability of
course they do,
having
but it's
political
not-
conversations.
of course they do,
and-
but it's not the general wiring or nature
It's
of women.
not. There's no wiring for your brain to like Donald Trump. Like that's not a real thing. I
Well,
feel
hold on,
like.
but wait a second. But do you think that men and women are made different in our brains and our
Certain things, but not necessarily. It doesn't like
Like
channel
what-
you
like
to be
what
a
things?
specific thing.
like
huh?
what things?
Well, like there's like specific wirings to like produce certain types of hormones, and that's like differences that are genetically.
So you don't think that men are more likely to like contact sports, more likely to enjoy football, UFC, hunting?
I think that's because of a societal norm in general. Like over a lot of
no,
time.
come on, you're smarter than that. That's not true.
Well,
Hold on. So why is it
there's
that
women that play football, so like you can't just
of
say
course,
that.
and,
Yeah,
and there
so
are
that's
men
an
that dress
example
in
of women
drag,
that
but
don't
those
do
are
that.
those are not the
Sorry.
the general truth of it. So let me just be clear. You think that there's nothing within the female brain in its constitution that makes young ladies more likely?
I mean, being that I'm an engineer, I don't think so. No. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I feel like there's
So you think if you pick a random lady here that they'd be just as comfortable sitting and watching a 4-hour football game than they were to go get their hair done with their best girlfriend?
well, I feel like that's kind of diminishing to say, oh, because you're a woman, you will not be able to sit through a 4-hour
But
football
is it
field.
what is it diminishing to say a man wouldn't want to go get his hair done? No,
No, I'm sure you get your hair done, right?
not really. It's like 10 minutes in and out, like
Okay,
barbershop.
but you still do it. It's
But the point, again, there are certain things that women will take more seriously. For example, women will take a lot longer getting ready for the day than men.
Yeah.
Right? Why?
because we're held to higher standards to look
No,
pretty.
no.
For example, your hair. How short is your hair? Super short. Mine, it's gonna take longer
What,
to
do,
dry.
do you wear
right?
makeup?
Yeah.
Why?
Because you want to look pretty, and it takes.
Yeah, that's not important to me because I'm a man.
Oh, right. But who
But
made
you-
you
but
feel
there's
that
something
way?
in your
but you
wiring-
feel comfortable
No,
not
no,
wearing
it's not
makeup
a-
because of a certain reason.
Well, but you wouldn't feel comfortable wearing makeup?
I can not wear makeup.
So why do you do it?
I mean, like right now, I'm not wearing like anything really.
No, I know, but that's the point, is that at some point you wear makeup because there's something within your wiring that says, I want to be presentable to the world. And that wiring honestly is, I want to find a mate to have
I mean,
children.
this question was about affirmative action. I think we're
No,
getting
no,
kinda
it's
off
not.
the
It's actually
subject.
really important because I don't think there's any differences between races, but I think that when it comes to affirmative action, we're saying that there are differences.
Right.
That we're trying to say that things that don't matter should matter. So I don't think race matters. Affirmative
Right.
action says race
What
does
about
matter.
like women also in fields like that? Like what I
Well,
explained
I
earlier.
think that's even more dangerous, to be honest with you. If like we're going to say that women should be Secret Service agents protecting Trump.
Not Secret Service. I'm talking about medicine, engineering, that type of
Well,
thing.
hold on. Okay, so should we try to have the same amount of female to male OBGYNs?
I think it should
Hold on.
be similar to the amount of like
OBGYNs,
the
though.
like the general population.
So hold on. 85% of all OBGYNs are female.
Yeah.
So now should we have parity so that men?
I have an OBGYN that's a man. That's not a problem.
That's not the point. The point is, should we have parity?
I think it should be similar to like whatever the.
Got it. Okay. So you're consistent. So women studying in the OBGYN field will be actively discriminated against. So a man can, because we must have parity.
It's not about people in the OBGYN specifically. It's about people in general. Men were like, for example, women were not able to vote until like less than 100 years ago, basically, right?
What does that have to do with
One
the
second.
field?
So because of that, a lot of the laws, a lot of everything that's set in place was made by men, was excluding women, was creating like reforms and like certain legislations that would specifically, support men rather than women, because
Or
women don't have that ability.
Support society. I don't think it was always about
Well,
supporting
for
men.
example, like what about it? Like what I brought up, endometriosis.
Dick's is giving the gift of sport this holiday season, along with a little competition in Texas. Come see what I've been up to at Dick's in Austin.
Wix gives you the freedom to tell your story with a professional website that reflects who you
So like what I brought up, endometriosis, or like the seatbelt accident, like all those stuff is due because we tend to favor men in specific.
Well, so I just don't believe that, first of all, because
I mean,
research
I
will go
can
where the money
show
is.
you,
And
but-
so if there was money in endometriosis research?
Not much, because
Well,
men
that's
don't
why.
care.
So maybe it wasn't sexism, maybe it was a monetary explanation.
Well, who has the money in a society?
Well, actually, women
usually?
control more money than men in the country.
But women weren't able to have bank accounts until like less than 100 years ago, so they can't really build that generational wealth.
Do you think it's been a better thing with women's liberation the last 20, 30 years?
Yeah, I would
Do
be.
you think that's interesting? Do you think women are happier in America today than they were 30 years ago?
Yeah.
Then why are they the most depressed group in the history of the species? Women are the most miserable they've ever been. Like, why is that?
I don't think that's because we're allowed to have money.
No, I'm
now, or
asking. I'm
because-
asking but it's like more liberation, more college degrees, more birth control, less
I
marriage.
would
less
argue
kids.
otherwise. I don't know where you got that data.
No,
that, we're
everybody
more
agrees that
depressed.
women are super miserable. As far as versus 30 years ago.
Well, it could be the fact that because women weren't able to go to a psychologist or like
Or
before.
maybe it's because they're not doing the one thing that they want to do, which is to get married and have children.
Yeah, she's saying that no, it's actually opposite. It's saying that women actually says women around the world report higher levels of life satisfaction than men, but at the same time report more daily stress.
Yeah.
So we're just held
so
to
type in women antidepressant use 2024. It is
Well,
the highest it has ever been.
but there's like more layers to it than that. It can't just be that. You have
Is
to
there?
look at why are women more likely to go and talk to a psychologist. There's the differences in that.
So, but I'm just curious. So, do you think women are generally happier in 2024 than they were in 1964?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
But I just had the question of how would you want to fix that? Just
There-
like
there's no problem to fix. Pure meritocracy.
no, I'm just saying like how do you bring people with diverse opinions?
Oh yeah, I mean, like I don't care that much about. I care about excellence.
So like women, like you used to be
I
studying
don't
into
care
stuff
about
like
putting women in
endometriosis
STEM.
and
I
stuff
care
like
about being
that.
a strong.
No, I'm talking
and-
about like being able to like look into those type of things, like endometriosis, like all this stuff. How do we make that
that's-
safer for
those
other
are-
people without bringing people that care about it?
Not that important to me. I want the country we once had,
Oh.
which was the greatest country ever, where we put excellence and we put superior intellect above like sensitive racial politics. Not interesting to me.
Okay.
Because it was a bunch of white men that were like running the country, and all of a sudden we
I'm
decided.
not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just
No,
saying
good.
that
Like that's fine. I mean, but when we used to have a country that was based on merit, we were more successful, and we were a better run country, and we're objectively not now.
yeah.
We're a country
I'm just
can't-
saying that in
we can't
engineering,
even
there's
protect
a
a
lot
president
of
from getting shot.
yeah, there's a lot of parts in engineering that because we don't have a diverse look of opinions, then we are putting them like we're putting certain people into more danger, like women in cars. That's like one example.
Okay, thank you.
That's okay.
All right, thanks. You're voting for Trump?
No,
Yeah, I was gonna
I
say.
can't.
Yeah, well, you lied to get a hat, and that shows your
I
character.
didn't lie. I said I would wear it. You said if you wear it.
I said
can
only
have
if you
it.
vote, but that's fine. All right, next question.
Hello. Hi. I about that. Well, first question, why can't marriage be allowed with 2 men or 2 women? That question got me.
Yeah, so I mean, allowed and what it is are two different things. So again, just strictly from what marriage has always been is the idea of 2 separate parts coming in a union to be able to have hopefully a lifelong partnership to raise kids, adopt kids, or have kids, and to become better versions of themselves. It is the attraction of opposites. And so if you want to redefine marriage, that's fine, that's your contention, but I take a classical view of marriage.
Based on like what is that based on what? The
Well,
Bible?
The natural law.
Is that the Bible?
Well, natural law is separate than the Bible, but it's harmonic with the Bible. That's correct.
Okay.
Because what would you say? What is the purpose of marriage?
Marriage is like I love you, you love me. Let's
Got it. So
let's get together.
Can a 25-year-old marry an 8-year-old?
No,
Why?
because that 8-year-old is not ready. Like they
Got it. So at
are
some
not
point,
adults.
so then let's build out your definition more. Then
Mhm.
love each other, but also what? What is the purpose? What is the destination of marriage?
We are 2 adults. We love
Got
each
it.
other.
Fair enough. Okay, we love each other. End of story.
End of well, let's give me another thing and maybe I'll add to
Okay,
it.
but is that it? Just is it about union, partnership, friendship? What is
I think it's just like let's get our taxes good. Like, let's just get married. Like, I don't think there needs to be some big crazy
No, that's
reason.
actually, no, I'm not attacking you. I think marriage is holy. And by holy, I don't just mean in a religious sense. Holy means separate, meaning it should be elevated. It should be celebrated. It's something that is so above the rest. And you just think it's like a tax advantage. And it's fine because actually most Americans agree with you.
Yeah.
I think marriage is something where we should drop everything like, wow, 2 separate parts have just made a lifelong covenant with one another to learn about the other and to grow with each other. And it's difficult. And I think that we've lost that.
I mean, I'm Jewish, and like in Judaism, there's the there's like the when you get married, the religious marriage, and then there's the government marriage. Like you have to get married
For sure.
twice, basically. So I
That's
think
right.
what you're talking about is probably the religious marriage, like with a priest. I'm talking about
Yeah,
governmental marriage.
I'm even talking about government. I'm just saying traditionally our governmental marriage, again, I'm in the vast minority of opinion in the country, this has been the classical view that it's a man and a woman coming together in something sacred and something holy or elevated. Again, that's not,
I would say that's just a Christian marriage.
it's not necessarily Christian. In Judaism, in traditional rabbinical Judaism, Orthodox, homosexual marriage is not recognized.
That is true.
So it's not Christian. In Islam, homosexual marriage is not recognized.
Okay.
So it's not just Christian.
Okay.
So it's Abrahamic.
Abrahamic.
All right, we agree.
Why do we care if there's no father? I grew up without a father. I feel like I'm doing fine. I'm doing great. I'm in college. Like why are we so towards the father? Why does he need to be there so much?
So just looking at, try to answer my question for me. Do you think what kind of is there any time, and you're being very vulnerable and I appreciate that, when you were growing up and maybe not, where you said, I wish I had a dad around?
My mom says I did wish for that once at a wishing well. But my mom was great. She
No, of
supported
course, your mom's
me,
a hero,
provided
for sure.
me.
No, I'm not. There's not a knock on single moms.
Right.
But was there ever a time maybe where a more masculine figure would have been helpful?
I can't really, not off the top of my head. Like,
Okay.
what? Can you give me an example of when a
Yes.
masculine figure would be helpful
when
in my
a
life?
boyfriend might have broke up with you and you didn't want to talk to your mom because she just didn't get it, and you wanted a strong, stable man to say you're beautiful.
I think, I mean, I have, if my father was like, "You're beautiful," that'd be cool. But like, if my mom was also like, "You're beautiful," I don't really see a difference between like my mom saying it and my father saying
Wow.
it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see the world that way, because there's being a father to a daughter, there's a very unique bond between a father and a daughter, where you fall in love again, but not romantic love. You fall in a different type of Greek love, which is called storge, which is a father-daughter love, where you have such affection for this incredible being, and your task is to shepherd that vulnerable, innocent girl through life all the way up until the marriage aisle, to kind of connect the two topics together, right? Where then you hand it off to another man, because women are worthy of protection.
So you're saying like there has to be a man in the woman's life.
Not
The
has
woman
to,
can't be
not-
like alone.
No, there are exceptions, but it is a beautiful ideal. And when that ideal falls apart, now let's talk about the technical side. In the Black community, when fathers are no longer around, crime goes up, poverty goes up, because you'll understand this less. And a man in the audience who grew up without a father will totally get this. If it's just a mom in the house, the dad should come in and discipline the 14-year-old for acting like a brat. The dad comes in and he says, "Stop doing this. You need to be able to outrank the 14-year-old brat with another masculine figure."
But don't you think that like there's a reason that a lot of the Black community doesn't have a father, and it's because of systemic racism. It's because like Black men are more likely to be in prison.
Oh yeah, so why do people go to prison?
For like a lot of the time it's because they're in poverty and they have no other way to get.
Okay, so they commit crimes.
Because
Yeah, but so wait, so wait.
why do they
So wait, if you're
commit crimes?
So in poverty, we should give excuses for committing crime?
Yes, because if they have no
like murder?
I did not say murder. I'm saying like if someone is stealing something because they have no money and there's no jobs.
That's so interesting. So you think most crimes are crimes of necessity in the Black community?
I'm not saying most.
So like gangbanging is like a crime of necessity?
That I literally never said that. I'm saying
But
like
you're making an argument of crimes of necessity. Like they're so hungry they can't handle it.
I'm talking about like crime that has to do with like getting food, getting stuff that you need to live.
Right, but we have food stamps for anyone that needs it. So that doesn't exist. We have subsidized housing for anyone that needs it. So that doesn't exist. We have free healthcare for any poor person that wants it, called Medicaid. That doesn't exist. We also have welfare cash for anyone that wants it. So that doesn't exist. So what is it they're missing that they need to go? Sorry about that.
Well, the food, like a lot of food stamps might not cover all of what they need, and also housing is like there's not unlimited housing. A lot of people who are unhoused have to like go to shelters, and then they get kicked out of shelters because there's a mandatory stay limit. So it's not like you just get a house.
It's not a stuff thing though, right? It's like if you need stuff, there's also tons of charities out there that can provide assistance. Churches, you will not go hungry in this country. You will not starve in this country.
Yes, you will. There's like,
no, we have an obesity problem.
Street?
We have an obesity problem, not a starvation problem in this country.
What are you talking
in
about?
State Street, if any one of those people went to the local Episcopalian church or Methodist church, they will get fed. I guarantee it. If they go to a local food shelter, they will get fed.
But I'm talking housing.
For housing. If we have Section 8 subsidized housing in this country, right? If you want to have a roof over your head, you can have a roof over your head.
With like thousands of rules, and you can't do
Yes, of course. Yes. I mean, it's not ideal, but the point is this. So let's just go back to the crime and necessity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why do people commit crimes?
I'm not saying why all people commit crimes. I'm saying there are people who commit crimes because they have no other choice.
Got it. So why is it that other people that are as poor as they are in separate racial groups don't commit crimes at the same rates? For example, Blacks are 13% of the population and they commit over 50% of the crimes. Why is that?
Black people, I would say, not Blacks.
Okay,
but
it's not. I can say white, so you wouldn't care. So
Anyway,
no, hold on. I right? I can say Hispanics, you wouldn't care. So don't
I think I
police my
might,
language.
but whatever. I'm not policing your language. I'm just saying I would say black
Fair
people.
enough, but the insinuation is that I'm being racist. But that's fine.
Okay, that's your opinion.
Yeah, but so Black Americans are 13% of the population and commit anywhere between 50 to 56% of murders, crimes, carjackings. Why is that?
Well, what percentage of the white population is living in the same level of poverty?
Got it. So there's twice as many white Americans in poverty as Black Americans. Not the same percentage, but still, if you look at white Americans in poverty, they commit far less crimes than Black Americans in poverty. Why is that?
Maybe it's because when you're in a store, like they follow Black people and they don't follow white people.
What about murder?
Rural?
No, but why is it that, like, just saying murder, why is it that Black people commit so many more murders? Like, that's not, you're being followed in a store and you commit more murders?
Yeah.
You're making the rule, or I'll get to you in a sec, but
Okay,
it's not,
anyway.
it's not a good argument. But let me just go back to one thing you said. Systemic
Whatever, you're
racism,
good.
right? So the idea of systemic is that it's within our laws.
Mhm.
There are some Black Americans here listening. What can you as a white American do that the Black American cannot do?
Let's see. I could go into a store and not get followed. The police could not track me down on, like, when I'm driving. I'm less likely to get shot and killed while I'm driving.
That is absolutely untrue. But we go to HEB and don't get followed around. We go to Walmart and don't get followed around. None of what she's saying is true. It's pretty much over exaggerated. See, this is what they like to do. They use small instances of certain incidents and try to over exaggerate it and make it seem like it's more than what it is.
There's a lot of things that I can do.
Okay, so just be clear. So if you walk into a local CVS here, how would you guys be treated differently?
Well, they would probably say hello, and they would probably just walk, let me in and not follow me. And then
So these are a lot of probablys. I don't believe you, but I'm talking about laws, right? So what in the legal code of America can you as a white individual do that the Black individual can't? Because systemic means it's in our code, right? It's for example, like Jim Crow, totally get it. That's systemic racism. What is systemically your advantage?
Maybe housing codes, because I know redlining isn't a thing anymore, but there is isn't there people who are white are more likely to be given loans because of they have less I don't know, that's just it's back from redlining. It's a lot of the same stuff.
So I don't buy into any of that. So I just kind of go.
You don't buy into redlining, or you don't buy
into redlining. I don't buy any of that stuff that happens. In fact, it's the opposite. Loans are now given favorably to Black Americans in certain cities over white Americans.
Okay, but you think redlining?
I believe in. I know redlining exists.
Okay,
I don't debate that. Of course, but because of DEI and because of affirmative action, there's actually a preference given. But so let's go back to fathers, right?
Okay, let's go back to fathers.
So something happened to Black America since 1965. So in 1965, so
you mean the war on drugs?
Right. Well, so if that's your contention, that's fine. So in order to go to jail for the war on drugs, you have to be dealing drugs, right? Or you have to be caught with drugs. So if you
which is one of the main jobs that you can have in a poverty stricken. If there's no jobs, you're going to do drugs. I mean, you're going to trade drugs because that's the only option
you have. It's such a difference in worldview. You're making excuses for criminals.
Yeah.
And what an insult to poor immigrants that came to this country that didn't commit crimes and worked 2 or 3 jobs and worked themselves out of poverty and didn't decide to go deal coke.
Well, my father is a white immigrant from Poland, and he committed crimes, and he's fine now. So
did he go to jail?
Yeah, he did.
I thought there was systemic racism. I thought that doesn't happen very much.
I never said white people don't go to jail. I said they go more, and you're saying that white immigrants are fine and they don't.
No, that's far less actually. I'm glad he went to jail if he committed a crime. I think it's terrible.
Yeah.
So, but at the core of it, we have a difference in worldview, right? My worldview is I'm not sympathetic to people that steal, that loot, and murder, because that's a values problem. And I don't like making excuses for people that do things that are obviously destructive. Secondly, we have a problem in Black America. The biggest problem is not racism, it's the lack of dads. If dads are around, kids flourish. And you know who agreed with me? Barack Obama. Barack Obama used to make this a central piece of his campaign. He came to this campus back in 2012, drew like 100,000 person crowd, and talked about how we need to rebuild the Black family and put dads back. Why doesn't the Democrat Party talk about that anymore?
I'm fine with having
No,
fathers.
no,
I'm not against having Black dads.
For sure. I'm saying, but don't we agree? Has anyone heard that mentioned on the national scale in the last 10 years? Yeah, I mean, we've heard about
Probably
like,
not.
yeah, and
Because
why
there's
is that?
bigger issues.
No, there isn't. See, that's the issue, is that this is what makes us different. As a conservative, I focus on, if you have family breakdown, don't worry about climate change. Don't worry about systemic racism. All that stuff is like these crazy abstractions.
What do you think create family problems? Systemic racism creates family problems. If you take away Black people from their families, then they're going to have
Right.
broken families.
Okay, so, but that's interesting. How are you taking them away? Aren't they leaving? They're not staying with the women they're impregnating. So, for example, there 13% of the population is Black. Not every single person ends up in jail, obviously. And yet there's huge child abandonment because there's a cultural expectation that is different in Black America than in white America, which is it's okay to impregnate a woman and abandon her in Black America. It's not
based on what? What is that based on?
That's a good question. Where does it come from? It's just based on.
No, I'm saying, what is that, like, your view of Black America?
Well, it's not a view. It's true. I mean, don't take my word for it. Look at Thomas Sowell and Shelby Steele that have done amazing analysis on this. It's that in Black culture, that is not considered to be a stigma. In white upper middle class culture, for those of you that grew up in Waukesha or Libertyville or grew up in Hinsdale or grew up in Naperville, you guys all know those neighborhoods. If you impregnate a girl, a woman, and you just like abandon her, that's frowned upon. That is a social stigma in upper middle class white culture.
And it's not in Black culture?
No. In fact, it's glorified by the rap culture. It is.
I think
Yes.
rap culture is showing what happened. I don't think it's.
Do you think that the songs that are the most popular in Black America are uplifting Black America to be better versions of themselves?
I think the most popular,
Like Nicki
songs
Minaj, Cardi B. Do you think that they're like empowering people to be great?
Well, I do think Cardi B and Nicki Minaj are empowering. But when you talk about like
Wow.
Black, like, let's go like Kendrick or whatever, like, they're talking about their life experiences and they're saying, this is what happened to me. And people relate to that because that's also what happened to them. It's not saying this is the greatest thing in the entire world.
Does it lift up the audience to become better?
I would think so, because it's like,
How?
because it's saying we all relate to this. We can all, like, this is our story. We can be like better than this, even though it's like, I mean, there's better, there's not better. It depends on what your worldview is. But I think that rap is good because it can like.
No, I'm not saying it's bad or good. I'm saying like there's just the essence, the core, the ethos is not exactly about like quitting drinking, quitting drugs, and getting married and having children.
No, it's about what you have done, not about like.
No, but just like to be clear, like in Black rap culture, is it generally glorified to go sleep with a lot of women?
I mean, that's your view of it.
I'm asking a question. Is it in Black rap culture?
I
Yes
think
or no, guys, in Black rap culture?
Is glorify women?
To be able to sleep with a lot of women.
I mean, I think that's one aspect. Yeah.
Okay, so let's just take that aspect.
Because it's a luxury that people can do. And like, it's one of the things that people can do and everyone can relate to. Or a lot of people can relate
Shouldn't
to.
ideally your culture try to elevate and try to challenge the individual to virtue and goodness, not try to bring them down to the lowest parts of their...
I'm not saying that they are bringing them down. I'm saying that this is what they are doing and they are sharing their experiences. They're not saying...
But the whole thing is they're not sharing solutions. And yeah, they sharing their experiences, but they're also glorifying doing criminal activity as well too. Meanwhile, they're not even who they say they are.
saying this is the best thing in the entire world. They're saying this is what I have been through.
Like sleeping with a lot of women.
Yeah.
Or like gang violence and, you know.
I mean, if that's what, like, a lot of people have been through gang violence because that's what's happening in their neighborhoods. They feel like that's the only option. And you might know that that's not the only option. But when you are living in that neighborhood and you don't see any jobs, this is how your family was raising you. What other option do you have? And once you're in it, it's really hard to get out.
So got it. You talk about systemic racism and that being a major driver of Black America's failure to launch, if you will. We subsidize single motherhood in this country. So if you stay single as a single mother, you get money from the federal government and it's basically subsidized, if you will.
Sure.
Can we at least agree that if the nuclear family in Black America was stronger and tighter knit, that would be a good thing?
In a lot of cases, yeah. I think if the father's abusive, I would not want him there. So I think it really depends on like what family you're talking about. I don't think you can generalize.
What percentage of fathers do you think are abusive?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I would say it's probably small, right?
Not like, I don't know. I have no idea. I have not done research on what percentage of fathers.
But generally it's good when mom and dad stays around and is raising the kid.
I would say if they are both healthy parents and they are both ready to have a child, it's great. My father, not ready to have a child, do not want him around me.
Just one last question on role models. Let's say there's a Black kid right now. Would you rather have that Black kid have a role model be Kendrick Lamar or Clarence Thomas?
Kendrick, obviously.
So not the Black American on the United States Supreme Court.
No, he's trying to ban interracial marriage. He's trying to do all.
Wow, no, he's in an interracial marriage.
He literally
he's married to a white woman.
Yeah, I know the Roe v. Wade thing goes against.
He's trying to ban his own marriage.
Yes.
I thought
I'm sorry to break it to you.
So we agree that there should be better role models, maybe.
When have I ever said that there should not be? I'm agreeing with you that there should be fathers if they are right
it's
for
fine.
that. We're agreeing.
And last question, you're voting for Kamala, I'm guessing.
How can you tell? Yeah.
Okay, what's her greatest accomplishment?
Probably capping capping the insulin at $35.
She did that. Yeah. What else?
I mean, you said her greatest. I'm just saying that's the thing that goes off the top of my mind is big pharma. I'm sure you're anti-big pharma.
Oh yeah, I mean that's why all the pharmaceutical companies are donating to her. That's right. So, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Enjoy voting for Kamala. Yes. Hello. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you doing? Good. My first question relates with Donald Trump's morals and characters. Morals and character. Excuses are often made for him, but that has not been the case.
Stop researching with ChatGPT. Its information is not reliable, and you can't use it in your paper without proper sources. But Liner is different. Unlike ChatGPT, Liner is a reliable AI search engine for your research. In Scholar mode, Liner backs up its information with scholarly sources like peer-reviewed journals and research papers.
Been the case for most presidents, and I'd like to discuss that with you. Donald Trump has continuously shown low morals and poor character, and I understand that you are a pretty strong evangelical Christian. Is that correct? And I don't think Donald Trump exemplifies strong Christianity. So I'd like to know what you think about that.
So great question. So are you a Christian? I just want to know by what standard you're judging him.
I personally am not a Christian.
Okay, so that's interesting to me. Why do you then care about what Christians think of Trump if you yourself are not a Christian?
Well, I believe Christianity still does play a great role in this country.
Fair enough. No, I just want to know by what standard you're judging him. That's fine. So when we're selecting a leader, all of us are sinners. All of us have problems. His character flaws are definitely public for those that can see it. I will say, though, that he has a lot of virtues. Would you say he has any virtues?
What basis are you saying? What virtues do you think?
Courage.
Possesses? Okay, courage. I think.
Like if you and I got shot, how would we react?
Well, I don't know. I think that we're straying a little bit from the question.
But it's important though. So, what moral failures in particular do you think are disqualifying from a Christian standpoint for him to serve in office or gain support from Christians?
Well, I actually do have some things pulled up, and I did read some scripture in preparation as well. Would you mind if I provided some of that?
Sure. Give me one or two examples.
Yeah.
And as long as you're applying the standard consistently, so for example, King David, Samson, Daniel, Joseph, and many figures in the Bible who are considered to be virtuous and righteous, because we're all sinners, and you know that.
Sure.
But
Yeah, absolutely.
Please give me some examples.
Yeah, well, I'd like to quote a couple pieces of scripture. First, from it says, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, and to value others above yourself." But Trump has continuously put himself over American citizens.
Yeah, let me ask you a question on that. He's gotten poorer since he ran for office. He's lost his business empire. He's been impeached twice, indicted 4 times, facing 700 years in federal prison. How is that putting his own personal ambition first? He's facing life imprisonment, his business empire to be taken away from him. That's actually putting the country above himself, isn't it?
Well, yes, but what about him selling golden sneakers, selling branded Bibles, which he claims to be the only one he endorses, $100,000 watches?
So yeah, I mean, but selling products to try to pay for legal fees is probably understandable, right?
But
how much do you think he's spending in legal fees a month?
Isn't that telling that he's a 34-time convicted felon, though?
That's interesting. So do you think the standard of justice is equally applied of Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton?
Well, no, but look what you guys said about
hold on.
Hillary
That's
Clinton.
very important, though, because do you think that Donald Trump would be experiencing this kind of criminality against him if his name wasn't Trump?
Yes.
Really?
I do.
So then why is it that no one's ever been indicted for what he got convicted for ever before in New York history?
Isn't that a great question?
Yes.
Why hasn't he been indicted?
No. Why has no one else ever been indicted for what he was indicted for? They made up a crime, the first ever, for Donald Trump.
I don't.
So let me ask you, as from a Christian perspective, we all fall short of the glory of God.
Correct.
Okay. Amen. And throughout the Bible, people who are sinners, such as I mentioned King David, who did a lot worse things than Donald Trump. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the story of King David. He literally not only committed adultery, he got the person he committed adultery with, Bathsheba's husband, sent him to the front of the line, got him murdered and killed so that he continued to commit adultery. Yet he was a man after God's own heart. We have Samson, who literally, when God came upon Samson, he was in a bed with prostitutes and was in the Hall of Faith in the book of Hebrews. We are not electing Donald Trump as a pastor of this country. We're electing him as a president. And we also see what he does. And this is a very important moral question. Let's say I grant you that Donald Trump embodies some of the sins that you and I both don't like. Is it matter more of what he's done in his personal life? Or does it matter more, for example, when you invade a sovereign country like Iraq and commit war crimes against millions of people?
Well, Donald Trump has contrasted multiple Christian values, but I don't.
Well, hold on, this is important though. Have we ever heard the mainstream media or yourself come up and say, how could a Christian vote for George W. Bush? Have you ever heard that argument?
No, but
well, hold on. George W. Bush invaded a sovereign country under lies and pretenses, and thousands of American soldiers died, and hundreds of thousands have PTSD, and millions of people had their lives displaced. We never say that George W. Bush was a bad Christian. Yet Donald Trump was the one that didn't declare any new wars. Blessed are the peacemakers. Donald Trump was the one that fought for the unborn and got abortion, Roe versus Wade repealed, and we have abortion laws across the country that are pro-life. The point is that it's easy to nitpick at Donald Trump's personal life, but what he actually did to impact the country was far greater than other presidents that called themselves Christians in years past.
Okay. It still doesn't quite make sense why a Christian would vote for him, but I appreciate your input. I guess I put that very vaguely. I don't understand how Christians are okay with so much that he does, because he also refuses to accept responsibility and take accountability.
Well, but because we read the Bible, and the Bible is full of people that have very, very difficult, let's just say, colorful lives, and still are used for God's purpose. And and by the way, it's very easy to say, are you a sinner? You're not a Christian, but let's just say,
yes, I've sinned.
Yeah, we're all sinners. And so we look at Donald Trump and we say, wow, this is a guy who's obviously broken. We're all broken. And what do you do with your broken life? Do you just golf all the time and fly around the world and hope things get better? Or do you get in the arena and fight for the country to the extent of where you get shot, you're under assassination attempts over every day, and your business empire gets taken from you? That's incredible virtue that I'm going to teach.
Listen, you want to skip this ad. I would too. But what if I told you there's a skip ads for everybody?
It's called Pi, and if that sounds familiar to you, it's probably because you've seen their ads everywhere. It's an ad blocker that works on Twitch, YouTube, Amazon, and
virtue that I'm going to teach my kids about and say, even if your back is against the wall, you keep on fighting. I think that's incredibly virtuous.
Okay. And I understand I'm not going to change your mind on this. So this is
You asked for an explanation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. So I respect that. Now you mentioned children that you have and raising them by morals. I mean, this is somebody who's running for the president of the United States. And as a matter of fact, traditional Christian theologian and philosopher Albert Schweitzer said that example is not the main thing in influencing others. It is the only thing. Now, the words of the president matter. And I understand you're raising 2 children. So he has been on track calling prisoners of wars losers. He lied to dodge the
never.
He's never actually called prisoners of war losers. So that's a lie right there again. But this is all for the night, baby. This is all for the night, ladies and gentlemen. Like, comment, and subscribe, and share. And we will see you tomorrow.